What's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Matt, this is the Z-List Cars, and today we're doing more or less of another used car value type of review. As is sort of becoming my typical fashion, I'm not necessarily doing new car reviews and the full quirks and features, sorry Doug, type of reviews where we go through every last little bit. This behind me is a 2016 Volvo XC90. This also is the Inscription, which is the very top of the line trim for options, luxury, conveniences, and such. This is going to have the nicest interior, the best. As I mentioned, there are a couple trim levels that are a little bit higher than this. There's an R design, which gives it the sportiest looking body elements, wheels and such. And there's also a T8, which is a hybrid assist as well to the motor, which adds a little more power, I think for a total of around 400 horsepower. But as is, like I said, becoming my normal fashion, this is more of a spotlight on the value of this as a pre-owned vehicle. This particular one is a 2016, highly optioned, 79,000 miles, as I mentioned, T6 Inscription, and it's being sold, guess where? Hi-Line Autohaus, for well under its original MSRP, even in today's crazy used car market. And that's what we're going to go over a little bit today. We're going to take a nice little test drive, go over what makes this one special, the T6 drivetrain, get some interior impressions, a little walk around, talk about what makes this such a cool value, like I said, even in October of 2021, when we're currently amidst the microchip shortage and post-pandemic, basically facing shortages of what feels like nearly everything and inflation of nearly everything these days due to either current or previous manufacturing shutdowns that have led to a serious slowdown in part supplies nationwide. All right, viewers, kind of got the XC90 butterflied open here for a nice little demonstration and walk around. So regarding the trim level Inscription, starting with some of what makes this unique, you've got sort of body colored everything here, wheel arch moldings. This is actually a pretty unique color called Twilight Bronze Metallic, and I personally think that this is a really good looking color. It's sort of a traditional bronze with a little bit of metallic pearlescent sort of look thrown in. I don't know, I guess I'm struggling to find the words at what makes this bronze look different, but I think it looks really sharp. You've got body colored wheel arch moldings, lower trim, sort of this aluminum look to the lower part of the front valence. You've got the Thor's Hammer, as I'm sure many of you are aware, signature LED running lights here. So in addition to the LEDs for your turn signal and everything, you have these long LED strips with what sort of looks like the hammer at the end that make these extremely unique, and thus the Thor's Hammer nickname. And the base trim XC90s do not necessarily come with the LED running lights, the Thor's Hammer pattern. They might now that it's 2021, but keep in mind this is a 2016. This is the very first year of the second generation XC90, which debuted in 2002 or 3, I believe. And it came during the Ford era of Volvo ownership, and they were due to possibly redesign it as early as 2008 or 9, but Ford would not have had the funds to redesign all the other Volvo models and bring it up to date with a new design language, so they did not. And this is an all-new architecture for Volvo this year. For 2016, it shed some weight over its predecessor, and the goal was increased refinement and fuel economy. The 4-cylinder drivetrain that I mentioned leading to that. I absolutely love the taillights. They come in Volvo tradition, but with the long LED strip of accents, you know, that kind of goes up the whole side here. I just think they're beautiful. I think it's a great design. As you see here, going to the back, on the T6 models, you always have the larger trapezoidal type exhaust tips. You have on either side, and you have just like a really small circular exhaust tip on the T5 models. You see back here, we got kind of a mess of all the all-weather mats and cargo area cover and such back here. And what's really cool is you've even got a lowering and raising button here for the suspension, I believe, and here in the back to increase access. So a lot of equipment. You've got sort of a 12-volt power outlet back here for tailgating and such. Individual climate vents in the back. Third row is pretty spacious. Volvo safety always a priority. So you've got the serious head restraints in their usual style. You can even get those head restraints to fold down from the push of a button on Volvo's Sensus infotainment system that we'll go over. Now this is the T6 Inscription, so you have the Bowers & Wilkins speaker grills, and I just think they are absolutely beautiful. Stunning interior materials are a theme in this car, and that's why I picked the T6 to review. You've got the Napa leather upper door cards, this sort of unfinished wood that you can feel the open pores or even kind of rough. This on the door handles and lining the wood trim, this beautiful chrome trim, just top-notch materials in here. And nice spacious second row. I mean, I'm 6 foot, 6'1", and I fit in here very well in the second row. You got kind of a one-touch operation for the second row. Pretty easy ingress and egress into the third row. 20-inch wheels. These wheels are unique to the Inscription model, so got some nice 20s on it. That really enhances the look and the appearance, I think. And engine's pretty covered up under here, but the supercharged and turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder makes about 316 horsepower in the T6 and about 295 pound-feet of torque. And it's a pretty torquey vehicle. We'll get to that soon. It's not the most soul-stirring noise of a 4-cylinder, as basically no 4-cylinders are, but it is a pretty punchy engine and a nice step up over the T5 trims. Alright guys, so before we go for a drive, just reviewing this interior a little bit. As I mentioned, and I've already gone over, the Inscription trim really brings out just a lot of great stuff. But going over kind of some of the more basics, the Volvo Sensus infotainment system, this large vertical screen was pretty advanced for the year. Like I said, how quick it is to respond to swiping, scrolling, you can just, this is light years ahead of something like my Lexus GX460, where it's like push a button, hope it responds within a few seconds. You can just go ahead and change things quickly, easily. You've got kind of a home button at the bottom here, but everything else is just swipe. It's like a big modern tablet. You can even fold the headrest down in the second and third row seat, which is awesome. A lot of safety adjustments here that can be done. Sat radio, of course. You got a pretty configurable cluster. It doesn't change color and all that really. It'll tell you information about all your drive modes and everything. You've got your nav display right in the middle, which in my opinion is like the best place for it. Steering wheel is a very tidy little 3-spoke with the grips here. It's kind of got like a black leather rim on the outside, light blonde leather on the inside, some chrome accents. Door handles are this beautiful kind of aluminum chrome looking trim. Like I mentioned, it's got the upper door panel stitched in Napa leather, which is an option. Memory seats, heads up display. You got your center channel, Bowers & Wilkins surround sound system, which I keep getting wrong in this review. I can't get it straight whether it's Bowers & Wilkins or Bang & Olufsen, so my bad. I'll apologize in advance for probably mistaking that again. You've got this really cool little ignition switch where you turn it to the right to turn it on and turn it to the left to turn it off. This sort of knurled looking metal knob here for your drive mode selector. Leather Napa trim around here. Very simple on the buttons. You don't have too many buttons in this car, which is great. And overall, just ergonomics, comfort. I'm going to go into the Volvo seat comfort a little bit. This is just a lovely place to be. And I even would have been a potential buyer if I were not a bit of a V8 snob. I have mixed feelings about the 4-cylinder drivetrains, especially turbocharging and supercharging, but as we're going to find out in this drive, it should make for a pretty interesting powertrain, and it should produce some pretty good power. So I have driven it a little bit. I've got some good impressions of it, so let's head on out for a ride. All right, driving the XC90, particularly the T6 Inscription. So the T5 is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, about 250 horsepower and similar amounts of torque. This is the T6, which is a turbocharged and supercharged 2-liter 4-cylinder, which produces 316 horsepower and about 295 pound-feet of torque, mated with an 8-speed automatic. The drivetrain in this is surprisingly smooth and torquey throughout for such a relatively complicated forced induction 4-cylinder. It really feels like it is a larger displacement engine. You know, one of the downsides of the motor itself is that it, like many forced induction 4-cylinders, manages to sound a little bit like a sewing machine under load and under power, I should say. And it does not inspire any soul-stirring noises like V8s or, you know, certain 6s maybe. But that, again, is not really what the XC90 is about. Ride is super smooth, even with this one at nearly 80,000 miles. It still, you know, absorbs the bumps and potholes pretty well. There's a little bit of tire noise. Overall smoothness to the ride, though, it's not wallowy, it's not floaty. It does have some, you know, European stiffness to it. It's definitely strong. When you ask for the power, you get it. And going through some curvy sections here, steering in regular or comfort mode is incredibly lightly weighted, and it does build effort nicely in the corners, but drive mode will influence that. So you've got a pretty cool, like, knurled metal drive mode selector here, and you got eco, comfort, and dynamic. So dynamic, you feel an instant stiffening to the steering wheel. I will say, you know, like many electric power steering units, this does feel very artificial. It's nice. I mean, it's nicely weighted, and it does feel smooth. I mean, parking lots are a cinch in this because you could steer with your pinky. It's like, you know, a 70s Cadillac boat-like steering at low speeds, and a lot of buyers of these are going to appreciate that. But dynamic mode, you definitely have some stiffening to the steering. You definitely have some quicker reaction to the throttle, so throttle response is noticeably quicker, and you've got all the driver assistance functions in this, pilot assist, etc. So you've got your traffic sign recognition popping up, your lane departure indicators kind of showing how, if you're veering out of your lane at all, and this does have active steering correction as well, so occasionally you'll feel that steering wheel pull you a little bit. That can be turned off through infotainment, and I don't find it as intrusive as some brands. However, it is there, and if you're not paying attention, if you're hitting that white line with the tires, you're going to feel a little nudge in the steering wheel pulling you. So another thing you instantly notice with driving the XC90 around this modern current generation 2016 and newer, Volvo does continue the tradition of having some of the best seats in the industry. They are just so comfortable and supportive. You got a nice little punch, kind of punching it here. Again, it just never quite sounds that encouraging, but it makes some solid power for the weight of the vehicle, and the 8-speed seems to find the you know, the torque curve pretty well in whatever gear you call for. So, you know, overall, very smooth, responsive drivetrain. Good brakes, nothing exceptional. You know, they've got some bite to them, but they've got kind of that softer pedal feel that a lot of these types of vehicles are going to have. Another aspect that, you know, I've discussed a little bit and covered in my walk around of this is just such top-notch materials in this interior. One of the reasons I wanted to do this review of a 16 XC90, obviously this model to some is already a little long in the tooth. It was very well received. I think it's very stylish inside and out, and the Inscription model, I'm kind of, being in the car business, being kind of a sucker for, being a car enthusiast, I should say myself, I'm a sucker for options. I'm a sucker for the higher trims. I don't need, you know, my car to do all the crazy voice command and gesture control, and honestly CarPlay and Android Auto, outside of maybe text functions and certain music things, they don't really mean a ton to me. I'm more about the drive, comfortable seats, nice materials, good stereo. Volvo's Bowers & Wilkins, I really do. You're not going to hear it through GoPro video here, but trust me, it sounds good. And so see, this thing has no problem getting up to speed. Power is great. Handling, like I say, very car-like. Steering weight builds nicely with cornering, and transmission's very responsive. Engine just sounds like a bit of a sewing machine. Again, good little powertrain summary here. Why, even in this crazy used car market right now, finding an Inscription trim level of the XC90 such as this, I still think represents an excellent value. The materials in this car, the interior design, the infotainment, you know, the electronics, options, and safety features still make it very relevant to vehicles today. You might want to think about some warranty coverage, possible some extended warranty coverage on something like this Volvo XC90 T6 with turbocharging and supercharging. That might be one of the downsides in looking at an early pre-owned one of these, despite the fact that the price point, less than half of what it went for new, even in this crazy used car market, might be very attractive. You might want to either know a good Swedish car mechanic, have some money set aside, and know a good Euro mechanic in general, or possibly consider an extended warranty, you know, a service contract on one of these. Because as the miles and years go up, you know, I'm sure this is going to need some attention here and there. But overall, it's a beautiful drive, extremely good value, I think, and again, one of the nicest interiors you will find, especially for a 2016 car at this price point. All right, guys, thanks again for tuning into the Z-List Cars. I hope you enjoyed this one. This was another kind of used car value sort of review. I'm going to try to mix it up a little bit, get some newer stuff going soon, but continue these, you know, kind of used car value reviews where we go over the specifics of a car, not just the whole model lineup, but what makes this an interesting deal in today's crazy pre-owned market. So, if you're new here, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, please do consider hitting that subscribe button. Follow me on Instagram at the Z-List Cars. And if you're not new, thanks again for coming back. We'll be taking another ride soon. See you guys next time.